Sex work is a topic that is highly stigmatized, especially in the United States.
I've been doing sex work since the age of 15, and unfortunately, I still have to do it at times, and so I don't make enough to survive.
And most Americans associate sex work with a lack of freedom. This brings about the common misconception that sex work and sex trafficking are one and the same.
As for me, most of the time they are victims, and it's often not their choice.
Last year, President Trump signed 2 bills into law that were meant to cut down on illegal sex trafficking online. However, the laws impacted sex workers in ways unimaginable.
Victims of human trafficking are coerced into submission by their abuser through immoral means, including forced dependence on drugs, violence, threats, and manipulation. Victims are also often the most marginalized in our society, victims of abuse and violence, runaways, refugees, and immigrants.
It was messages like these that encouraged lawmakers to pass the SESTA-FOSTA Act, a piece of legislation with unforeseen consequences. The Stop Enabling Sex Traffickers Act, or SESTA, and the Allow States and Victims to Fight Online Sex Trafficking Act, also known as FOSTA, were passed into law in April 2018 in order to reestablish the federal standpoint on sex trafficking.
So the government didn't try to do anything until suddenly last year it decided to throw in this broad prohibition on facilitating sex work into a sex trafficking bill.
The legislation determined websites like Backpage and Craigslist that previously allowed online solicitation would be held responsible under the law. In response, Craigslist said, "Any tool and service can be misused. We can't take such risks without jeopardizing all our other services, so we have regretfully taken Craigslist personals offline. Hopefully, we can bring them back someday." According to NBC, after the federal seizure of sites like Backpage.com, which offered the promotion of adult services, the number of online sex ads decreased. This brought about a major change in the lives of sex workers across the country.
I mean, the internet and advertisement is pretty much how everything is done today. So if you don't have that, what are you going to do?
It's made it more dangerous because a lot of girls were able to utilize the computer. And were able to screen their callers. Once SESTA and FOSTA had the sites shut down, it forced girls back into the dangerous street. Once the sites were shut down, it affected my pockets as well.
Outside of the United States, New Zealand was the first country to decriminalize sex work. International visitors shared their opinion on the effects of the legislation on U.S. citizens.
And that tend to be seen as like a moral issue. As far as I'm concerned, as long as it's like a personal choice, and as he just told you, if those people are not victims of any sort of like human trafficking and stuff, they should be allowed to use their bodies.
Since the passage of this act, countries like Switzerland, Germany, Greece, and over 45 others have legalized sex work in one form or another and established regulations to protect their workers.
Yeah, there should be a legal framework, I guess. I mean, the Dutch have it as well, but there is a lot of sex trafficking there as well, forced.
Federally, the practice of sex work remains illegal in the United States. But many sex workers have been lobbying on Capitol Hill in an attempt to make lawmakers understand their daily struggle.
Advocacy groups coming to Congress and saying, look, if you do this, you're going to force consensual sex workers back onto the street, back into the hands of dangerous people, and you're going to increase sex trafficking. You're going to have the absolute opposite result than you're looking to accomplish.
Since the passage of the SESTA-FOSTA Act and the shutdown of popular sites like Backpage.com, legislators claim to have reduced the amount of solicitations for online sex work by up to 90%. But it's important to note that new sites are emerging online to provide sex workers with a platform to solicit their clientele, and numbers are once again on the rise. For Howard University News Vision, my name is Sydney Stallworth.